Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare 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 Krishna Hare Ram Krishna Hare 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 Ram Ram Hare Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna devotees, please accept my humble obeisances. All goes Sri Prabhupada and Guru Maharaj. Yeah, Devsik Mataji, when you're ready, you can start, Mataji.
Hare Krishna to all the Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Today we'll be reading from Canto 4, Chapter 12. Narayana namaskrityam naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayamudiraye nasta prayeshu bhadreshu nityam bhagavata sevaya bhavati uttama sloke bhakti bhavati naistike. The chapter is entitled Swayambhuva Manu advises Dhruva Maharaj to stop fighting. Text 11. It is very difficult to achieve the spiritual abode of Hari in the Vaikuntha planets, but you are so fortunate that you are already destined to go to that abode by worshipping him as the supreme abode of all living entities. Text 12. Because you're a pure devotee of the Lord is always thinking of you, and you are also recognized by all his confidential devotees. Your life is meant for exemplary behavior. I am therefore surprised. Why have you undertaken such an abominable task? Text 13. The Lord is very satisfied with his devotee when the devotee greets other people with tolerance, mercy, friendship, and equality. Text 14. One who actually satisfies the Supreme Personality of Godhead during one's lifetime becomes liberated from the gross and subtle material conditions. Thus, being freed from all material modes of nature, he achieves unlimited spiritual bliss. Text 15. The creation of the material world begins with the 5 elements, and thus everything, including the body of a man or woman, is created of these elements. By the sexual life of man and woman, the number of men and women in the material world is further increased. Text 16.
Hare Krishna Mataji. Just confirming, you are reading from 4th Canto, 12th chapter, right, Mataji?
That's correct.
Yeah. So, which verse you're in now? So I can...
I'm in text 16 now. I'm supposed to be reading 11 to 20. Is that correct?
Yeah, perfect, Mataji. Yeah, continue then.
Okay.
Okay.
Text 16.
Chapter 11.
Pardon, Mataji?
Mataji is reading chapter 11 by mistake. It's chapter 12 that we are in right now.
Okay.
This is chapter... Oh, I am sorry. Yes, you're exactly right. Yeah, it should be 12. Okay. All right. 12.
Thank you, Mataji.
Okay, continuing with chapter 12. I'm sorry.
No
Dhruva
problem.
Maharaj goes back to Godhead. All right. Dhruva Maharaj rendered devotional service unto the Supreme, the reservoir of everything, with unrelenting force. While carrying out his devotional service to the Lord, he could see that everything is situated in him only, and that he is situated in all living entities. The Lord is called Achyuta because he never fails in his prime duty to give protection to his devotees. Text 12. Dhruva Maharaj was endowed with all godly qualities. He was very respectful to the devotees of the Supreme Lord and very kind to the poor and innocent, and he protected religious principles. With all these qualifications, he was considered to be the direct father of all the citizens. Text 13. Dhruva Maharaj ruled over the planet for 36,000 years. He diminished the reactions of pious activities by enjoyment, and by practicing austerities, he diminished inauspicious reactions. Text 14. The self-controlled great soul, Dhruva Maharaj, thus passed many, many years favorable executing three kinds of worldly activities, namely religiosity, economic development, and satisfaction of all material desires. Thereafter, he handed over the charge of the royal throne to his son. Text 15. Srila Dhruva Maharaj realized that this cosmic manifestation bewilders living entities like a dream or phantasmagoria because it is a creation of the illusory external energy of the Supreme Lord. Text 16. Thus Dhruva Maharaj at the end left his kingdom, which extended all over the earth and was bounded by the great oceans. He considered his body, his wives, his children, his friends, his army, his rich treasury, his very comfortable palaces, and his many enjoyable pleasure grounds to be creations of the illusory energy. Thus, in due course of time, he retired to the forest in the Himalayas known as Badrik Ashram. Text 17. In Badrik Ashram, Dhruva Maharaj's senses became completely purified because he bathed regularly in the crystal clear purified water. He fixed his sitting position and by yogic practice controlled the breathing process and the air of life. In this way, his senses were completely withdrawn. Then he concentrated his mind on the Acha Vigraha form of the Lord, which is the exact replica of the Lord, and thus meditating upon him, entered into complete trance. Text 18. Because of his transcendental bliss, incessant tears flowed from his eyes. His heart melted, and there was shivering and standing of the hairs all over his body. Thus transformed in a trance of devotional service, Dhruva Maharaj completely forgot his bodily existence, and thus he immediately became liberated from material bondage. Text 19. As soon as the symptoms of his liberation were manifest, he saw a very beautiful airplane coming down from the sky, as if the brilliant full moon were coming down, illuminating all the 10 directions. Text 20. Dhruva Maharaj saw two very beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu in the plane. They had 4 hands and a blackish bodily luster. They were very youthful, and their eyes were just like reddish lotus flowers. They held clubs in their hands, and they were dressed in very attractive garments with helmets and were decorated with necklaces, bracelets, and earrings. Hare Krishna. Sorry about the mistake.
No, it's fine. Thank you so much, Mataji. Hare Krishna. Yeah, whenever you're ready, you can start, Mataji. Rasa Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you, Mataji, for reading. Thank you, Prabhuji, for giving me this opportunity so that I can purify my tongue and sincerely read through it. Before starting to read, we'll do short prayers and then we'll commence. Om Ajnanam Timirandasya Jnananjana Chakshurummilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayyam Dadati Swapadantikam Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadha Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Prabhuji, can I share my screen?
Yes, Mataji, you can go ahead. Yes.
So today we are reading verse 11 to 20, chapter 12, and it says Dhruv Maharaj goes back to Godhead. So here, Dhruv Maharaj he started doing all the devotional service in text 11, and along with that he's doing all sorts of sacrifices, and he's having a very unflinching devotional service also going on. So general ordinary karmi would do any sort of sacrifices just as to get something in return. Until and unless they are not getting any benefit, no sacrifices will be performed from their end. But Dhruv Maharaj was not situated like this. He was not doing the sacrifices just so that he could get some good deeds out of it. He was doing it to set an example because he's the king. So, for his audience, that is his kingdom, which is the entire world, he wanted to set an example of how religious principles should be followed in a society to have a smooth going. This is why he was performing so many sacrifices. And at the same time, he was a very surrendered devotee. And when a devotee is surrendered completely to Krishna, Krishna makes sure that he is taken care of. Like we read in Bhagavad Gita 9.31, Shiprambhavati Dharmatma, where Krishna says that announce it loudly, boldly, that my devotees will never perish because Krishna is going to make sure that they will never fall down, right? This is why he is also known as Achyuta. Here, it is also specified in this verse that Dhruv Maharaj had come to the stage of Mahabhagavata vision. So, what is this Mahabhagavata? Is being able to see Krishna in everything. So, a devotee will look at a flower and think that this flower can be used for garlands, for decorating the altar in the service of Krishna. If he is going to look at a laptop, he is going to be happy seeing that this is where I can look at the videos for relating to Krishna. And if he would to see food, he would be very happy that this is the food that we should be offering to Krishna. So whatever he's thinking, everything he's doing, everything is with Krishna in center. But if it was a person like me, I would look at the flower and think that, oh, I will decorate my house with it. If I would see a laptop, I would see, oh, there are nice videos, mundane videos that I can watch on it and have some sense gratification. If there is a food, I would think, oh, it is going to be so delicious that I'm going to enjoy it. So this is a difference between a Mahabhagavata devotee and a normal person like me. But here we also understand that sense gratification also depends upon your previous impression of sense gratification. For example, if you have never had a pizza in your life, you don't know how pizza looks like, whether it is a circle, it is cut into triangle, what cheese goes on it, what vegetables goes on it, you don't know. You have never seen a picture of it. Then you will never crave for a pizza because you don't know what it looks like. So everything that we crave for right now or our senses are going bewildered for are the things that we have previously done. So one suggestion that can come out of this one learning that we can get is we should avoid mundane things like which is going to distract us. So out of sight, out of mind policy works well over here for unnecessary thing that can deviate us from the path of bhakti. So this is very necessary. If we keep all these things away, we are going to be centralized towards our motive, and the motive is to go back to Krishna. So moving ahead, in verse number 12, here in this verse, we are going to be discussing about Dhruv Maharaj. So here it is in the first line we see it says Dhruv Maharaj was endowed with all godly qualities. So here in this verse, the terms are very important. Prabhupada has described the Brahmanayam term, which means a person who is devoted to the Brahmanas. That means he is doing seva, he is doing services for the Brahmanas. Why? Because Brahmanas are those personalities in our society because of whom we can spread the religious principles very nicely. They are the people, they are the head of the society because they are going through the Shastras and giving us advices on how to conduct our life. So, a king, a Kshatriya, or any other person should be devoted to a Brahmana. But in today's world, we see the government, which is going to be the so-called king for our understanding, They don't do any such thing. In fact, they don't even propagate religious principles. They want to curb it down. And then Prabhupada is also explaining the term Dina Vatsalam over here. So Dina Vatsalam is being very compassionate or being very merciful towards innocent people. This again is a very, very good and important quality that a king needs to be kind towards innocent people or the people who are in lower grade of the rung. You should be very compassionate and caretaking for them. And in today's society, again, we do not see this. The government would rather take up all the money and still not execute any services for the citizens, right? So in this verse, we see 5 qualities are being described about Dhruva Maharaj. First is Sheela Sampanam. That means he has an extremely, extremely good character. Finding a good character leader is one in itself a very big thing to achieve. Brahmanayam, we thought that we already saw that he is devoted to all the Brahmanas. Dinavatsalam is being very kind and compassionate towards the innocent people. And then his fourth quality is Goptaram Dharma Setunam. And that means he is protecting the religious principles of the society. If you do not protect the religious principles of your society, the society is eventually going to go down in the drain. And the last quality is Minere Pitaram Prajaha, the last line. This is his fifth quality. That is, he is a king and he is a king like a father. What does this mean? Any child would depend completely on the father. Every child will trust his father blindly. Similarly, Dhruv Maharaj's position was as such that blindly the praja or the audience, the kingdom, was depending on him. To have such a quality is not a very easy thing. Nowadays, we don't see such kind of quality in our government. We absolutely cannot depend on them. If we depend on them, we are going to go down in the drain. So here, Prabhupada is also comparing Dhruv Maharaj as a king and the present government that we are living in. And he says that there is absolutely no comparison. And hence, the only alternative left for the praja, that is the audience, that is us, is to completely surrender to the lotus feet of Krishna, because he is the only one who will save us from all these miseries that is being created around us by the people who are not following the religious principles of our life. Then moving on to 13th verse. In 13th verse, it is specified that Dhruv Maharaj ruled over this planet for 36,000 years. So with this thing, Prabhupada is explaining first thing that is clarified, because people might ask, oh, how do you know that Dhruv Maharaj came in Satyuga? So yes, this clarifies it that Dhruv Maharaj was in Satyuga, because people in Satyuga used to live for 100,000 years. Then came Treta Yuga, where people used to live for 10,000 years. And then came Dwapara, where people used to live for 1,000 years. And then in Kali Yuga right now, it is said that people over here live for 100 years. But we don't see that happening anymore. People, by the time they are 80, 85, it's Haribol. So here, further, it is also explained by Prabhupada that there are two kind of activities a person can do, either pious or impious. And for every activity he does, he will get results for it. If he is doing pious activity, he is going to get good results. If he is going to do impious activities, he is going to get bad results. But this is not why a devotee will execute the devotional service. This is not his motive to get good, right? Here it is said, a devotee, however, is not interested in the enjoyment or is affected by any distress. Why? How do we understand this? Prabhupada has explained that the devotee thinks, I am diminishing the results of my pious activity whenever I am having prosperity. And whenever there is a distress, the devotee knows that I am diminishing the reactions of my impious activities. So whatever is happening, he is completely detached from it. because he knows these are just reactions of pious and impious activities, and his most important goal is to do bhakti, devotional services unto the lotus feet of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Here, Prabhupada also says this is why a devotee's devotional service should be apratihata. That is, there should not be any desires for material happiness or distress. It should be away from all these things. And this is why in our ISKCON we have the 4 regulative principles that we are asked to thoroughly practice, because this helps us to stay on the path of bhakti. Then moving on to text number 14. In this 14, here, Prabhupada has explained us very nicely first how to have a perfect materialistic life. If you want to have a perfect materialistic life, you have to observe the religious principles. And only if you will observe the religious principles, the economic development will come automatically. And when there is economic development, your material desires are also going to be fulfilled. Yeah. Here, Prabhupada is, why is he talking about this thing? Because in the last line we see, thereafter, he handed over the charge of royal throne to his son. So giving up your position is not very easy, especially when you are so successful. When I was reading this, I was thinking about Queen Elizabeth of England, sorry. So she was 95, 96 years old by the time she left her body. And she was so adamant that till that age, there was no giving up her throne. She was still the queen. Only when she was dead that she left that position of being the queen. Till that time, her vanaprasth went, sannyas and everything went, but the chair, the throne was not going anywhere. It was still there. She wanted it. People want it. This is how people are. Generally, when they have a position, they don't want to give it up. They don't consider their age. And here, it is specified, just we read in the previous shloka, that he ruled the kingdom for 36,000 years. So we might think that 36,000 years, it means he must have become very old, and he must have no desires left, and there must be nothing left in his body. But no, this is not true. Just now we read that the lifespan of people in Satyuga is 1 lakh year, 100,000 years. So being 36,000 years is just being like 36 years old for us, how we are in Kali Yuga. So all his desires, all his senses were very active, but still he had the power to control his unnecessary materialistic desires also. And having that is not very easy. We see he gave up his throne and he gave it to his son. In this verse, Prabhupada is also specified an example of Raghunath Das Goswami. So he also came from a very, very well-to-do family, very, very rich family. But he was advised by Srila Gaur Sundar that from within, keep thinking about Krishna, keep serving him, but from top, execute your materialistic activities. And when it is time that you have to leave all these materialistic activities, you will not feel attached to them. You will be very detached if you constantly keep practicing bhakti. And this is what Dhruv Maharaj was actually doing. He was practicing bhakti since the age of 5. And he's going on till 36,000 years. So it was like a Raganuga stage that he was in. For him, giving up his throne for his son wasn't a big task. For us, it is a task which can never be achieved, right? So then further moving on to verse number 15. In 15, here it is said that Dhruv Maharaj had realized that this cosmic world, this is completely mithya. Like this is not the truth. This is a shadow. There is a term used in this purport which is called as Gandharva Nagara. So Gandharva Nagara is a term that is used for something which is illusionary. And he had realized that whatever you do in this material world, it is illusionary. You cannot take anything with you. He wanted the biggest of the kingdom in this world. He cannot take that kingdom. He cannot have all the wealth. This is what he had realized, that when I will go back to Krishna, I don't need this, because Krishna is the most important jewel I already have. So he figured out this, which is specified in verse number 15. Then when we go on to verse number 16, uh, yeah, here it is specified that he had left his wife, children, body, friend, everything, and he had moved on, right? So here in purport, Prabhupada is explaining that initially Dhruv Maharaj came to Krishna not because of bhakti. He came to Krishna because he desired something. He desired a very big kingdom. He wanted to have a greater kingdom than anybody, his grandfather. So this is why he came. But Prabhupada is mentioning it is not important why you came. When you come to bhakti and you stay in bhakti, it eventually changes you. And that is what is the most important thing. Here, Prabhupada said it does not matter what his motivation was in the beginning. He will eventually realize the real truth by the grace of the Lord. So, in Bhagavad Gita also, in verse number 7.16, 16, we read that there are four kind of devotees who come to Krishna. One are the distressed people, one are the people, Arthartima, the means who wants property, like how Dhruv Maharaj was in there. And then one are Jigyasu, who want to know what is Krishna, why you want to please him. And the last one is Jnani. So, whatever route you might come to, your eventual destination is going to be same, which is Krishna's lotus feet. Here, so and then further, he describes that you have to have complete detachment to leave all these wife, body, children, friend, army, rich treasury. And when I was listening to a lecture by Gaurang Darshan Prabhu, he specified a very weird comparison, but it kind of made me understand that this is true. So he said, a compare like whenever we are very attached to our body. We are very attached to our nails. We paint them, we shape them, we take care of them, we put cream on them. Then we are very attached to our hair. We comb them, we make different hairstyle, and if they start shedding, then we are stressed. Then if we become bald, then we'll wear wig because we want to have hair, because we have a lot of attachment with it. But when we pass excreta, stool, we are not attached to it. We never turn back and look at it. Oh, why did I lose it? No. But similar way, Dhruv Maharaj had, that he did not turn around for all his wife, children, friend, army, and everybody. Once he left, he left. And he went to Himalayas known as Badrikashram. And in the following words, we see after he went to Badrikashram, he was doing a lot of Ashtanga yoga. Here we'll read it in the translation that he was doing a lot of breathing process practices. And one might ask that he's such a great devotee and he completely knows the transcendental truth. So why he needs to do Ashtanga yoga? He can just do Bhakti yoga. That is true. But because Dhruv Maharaj had gone to Badrik Ashram, there are many other sages also who were performing Ashtanga Yoga. And for honoring them, even he performed Ashtanga Yoga, because this is also a way of centralizing your thought on the lotus feet of Krishna. And this was in honor of other sages over there. So, with this, we see what a beautiful character Dhruv Maharaj had. Generally, if we think we are right, we will proclaim it loudly so that everybody knows that whatever I'm thinking is right. Here, he's submissively having Ashtanga Yoga also going on, and along with that, he had complete uh, mm, uh, attention towards the worship of the Archa Vigraha. When he was worshipping Archa Vigraha, first thing we should understand is Archa Vigraha is not just idol. It is not just material which is made out of wood, marble, metal. We should not consider it like this. In fact, the material that is used to make an Archa Vigraha is the physical representation. It is sthula of Bhagavan. It is indifferent from Bhagavan himself. So when he was performing Ashtanga Yoga, he was also continuing with his devotional service and he was worshipping the deities, the Archavigraha of Bhagavan. Then we move on to 18th verse. 18th verse is one of the important verses. So if devotees have time today, they could go through it. So in this verse, Prabhupada is first explaining that Dhruv Maharaj was doing constant devotional service through hearing, chanting, remembering, worshipping the deity like Navada Bhakti processes. He was doing it completely and very sincerely. And because of this, he started having some bodily transformations, which are also called as Ashtasattvika Vikara. So, and there is no details given about Ashtasattvika Vikara. And also, I wasn't aware what they are exactly. What are these 8 changes that come in, transformations that come into a devotee's body? And I found it in Chaitanya Charitamrita Antilila, 14 chapter 100 verse. And what are these 8 transformations that come in a devotee's body? Is he gets stunned, there is perspiration, standing of the body hair, flattering of the voice, trembling, fading of body's color, tear, and devastation, that's crying. These are the kind of transformations that a devotee can go through. And here Prabhupada has also very specifically said that we should never try to imitate these things because this is not the right way. These are the transformations and emotions which come on its own when the person has reached a very highest level, like the Mahabhagavata that we already discussed today in the 11th verse. So he had reached that kind of stage. And here Prabhupada is given a very good example of a coconut. We have all seen coconut on the coconut tree. Coconut is having a green fiberish shell first, and inside there is a brown hard shell, and inside that it is a coconut pulp, right? So we are going to try to understand with the example of coconut. So the outside, the green fiber is like the gross body, right? And inside the hard shell is the subtle body, man, buddhi, ahankar, mind, body, mind, intelligence, and false ego. And inside the white pulp is the soul. So what a jivatma has to do is that it has to get detached from both these things. So after a period of time, when you keep that coconut in a place for few months or something, and then you pick it up and shake it. When you shake it, you can hear the coconut being separated and you can hear the tuck, tuck, tuck. So it is completely now separated, right? Similar example, with this example, Prabhupada is trying to explain us that at the time of death, when we die, we are definitely going to be separated with our gross body. This body is going to perish. But our subtle body, which is the mind, intelligence, and false ego, it keeps traveling with us. And because it keeps traveling with us, we get different bodies as per our subtle body. So we also have to get detached from that. And to get detached from that subtle body, the only way is devotional service, and there is no other way. So, Prabhupada is also saying that once from the beginning of the devotional service is the path of your liberation. The moment we start bhakti, we are on the path of liberation. Just like when you break the coconut from the coconut tree, now it has already started to dry up. It will take some time. It will take some time till the pulp gets separated from the shell, but it is already going to do. Till the time it was there on the tree, it was going to be fresh like that, only everything together. But now that you have plucked it out, it is going to dry. It is just a matter of time. So the moment we start bhakti, we are also on the similar path. It is just a matter of time when we will get separated from our subtle body also. Gross body will get separated definitely, but we'll get separated from our subtle body also, and then we will be absolutely qualified to go back to Krishna. Here, Prabhupada is given examples of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. He also exhibited such qualities and such symptoms of Ashtavikara. And even Haridas Thakur, he also exhibited such symptoms. Then further in this verse, Prabhupada is also describing about the term Muktalinga. We see the last word over here, Muktalinga. So Prabhupada is describing that. So mukta means being liberated, and linga means subtle body. So this is the process that Prabhupada is saying, that we have a gross body, and our subtle body in this lifetime only keeps changing. From baby, you go to childhood, from childhood to boyhood, boyhood to adult, and adult to old. So an old person's mentality is not going to be like a 5-year old, right? There is going to be difference. It has evolved, right? So, and this is the this whole subtle body is the reason how we are going to die and get into next body. So Prabhupada is strongly recommending that if we keep practicing bhakti, we will be separated. We will leave this subtle body also behind, and we will be able to move ahead freely. And this was the stage that Dhruv Maharaj was in. He had left his he was ready to leave his gross and subtle body very easily without any problems. Moving on to verse number 19. So in 19, Prabhupada is explaining that there are different kind of knowledges. So direct knowledge, knowledge received by the authorities or superior, transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond our senses, and spiritual knowledges. So, and our Dhruv Maharaj was situated in transcendental knowledge, knowledge beyond senses. So this is the time when he saw airplanes, beautiful airplanes were coming down, and they were very brilliant, effulgent. Do we see any planes coming down to take us? No, the only planes we see are flying up in the sky, going from one place to another on this earth only. But he could see things that a normal person cannot see. And you can get such beautiful favor of seeing the airplane coming down to take you, uh, and by the grace of the Supreme Personality of Godhead only. So, and he was able to see that because Krishna had all his mercy on him. Haribol. And then verse number 20, this is the last verse for us today. And here, Dhruv Maharaj was able to see beautiful associates of Lord Vishnu, and they also looked like Lord Vishnu. It's a clear description that they had a forehand, blackish body, and they looked very youthful, and they were decorated with beautiful jewelry. So they just looked like Vishnu. So we know that everybody in Vaikuntha has bodies like Vishnu. The only way that we can distinguish between who is Vishnu, we will see a Kaustubh Mani on his chest and a Srivatsa, a curly white hair which represents Mother Lakshmi on his chest, and that's how you can distinguish who is our Lord Vishnu. So, and when he saw them, obviously he must be so ecstatic. We can just even imagine. And we will read further from text number 21 tomorrow. I'll end over here. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Yeah, thank you so much, Madhuri, for a wonderful class. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Sri Prabhupada ki jai.